Welcome to Pixarize's scene for vitamin A, or retinol, part of our series on the vitamins. This scene takes place on a farm in a barn where we'll meet a friendly farmer churning his butter and see an Egyptian queen and some butterfly wings. This farmer is one of those Snow White types who's one with nature and surrounded by crowds of cuddly critters and polychromatic porkers. That's a lot to unpack, so let's get going. First things first, let's explain why we've come to a barn to learn about vitamin A. Well, take a look around. Barns are full of hay. Vitamin hay. Regular hay may be for horses, but vitamin hay is for medical students trying to learn the basic biochemical functions of vitamin A. Now take a look at the side of our big red barn and that hole in the wall. Looks like some red ivy has made its way inside. That's not a problem though, our farmer welcomes plants as much as he welcomes animals. These vines penetrating the hole in the wall are meant to look like the retina on fundoscopy, which should help you remember that vitamin A, or vitamin hay, is also called retinol. Now, let's knock out the various functions and properties of vitamin hay, starting with that old rusty barn door. This farmer is pretty old, so it makes sense that his barn is pretty old too. Notice that the door is rusted, but it looks like the farmer has started shining some of it. That left corner looks good as new. This rust removal is meant to represent vitamin A's role as an antioxidant. Vitamin A is primarily stored as a long-chain ester that has the potential to scavenge reactive oxygen species and neutralize free radicals. Next, check out our friendly farmer. See how he's churning butter? Do farmers still churn butter? That seems colonial. Pretty sure it's been automated now. Anyway, he's churning that sweet, fatty butter to remind us that vitamin A is one of the fat-soluble vitamins, along with vitamins D, E, and K. As we move to the center of the image, we can see that a few little piglets have gathered around the table to see if they can snatch some of the food the farmer left out. Naughty piglets, go eat your trough of slop. You may also notice that these particular piglets are multicolored. I know we didn't all grow up on farms, so for those of you not in the know, piglets don't usually come in an assortment of disco hues. These kaleidoscopic, funked-up piglets are there to remind us of visual pigments, which contain a form of vitamin A. Visual pigments consist of an opsin protein and a molecule of retinol, that's retin-Al, which is a derivative of vitamin A, or retin-Ol. Visual pigments populate the retina and are the molecules that capture photons and convert them to nervous impulses, which allows us to see. Remember our retina ivy and hole? It turns out that symbol was multi-purpose. Pretty cool. Next, turn your attention to the left of that rusty door frame. See that ginormous butterfly hatching from its cocoon? This butterfly metamorphosis is meant to represent cellular differentiation, specifically the normal differentiation of epithelial cells into specialized tissues. This conversion of epithelial cells into a variety of different tissues, like pancreatic cells and mucus-secreting cells, is a vitamin A-dependent process. Vitamin A is also responsible for keeping some tissues from aberrantly differentiating, making its deficiency a risk factor for squamous metaplasia. Vitamin A performs these crucial functions by entering cells, getting converted to retinoic acid, and binding nuclear DNA-associated receptors. This triggers receptor release and allows for the binding of transcription factors, which results in the up or down regulation of target genes. It's a pretty complicated set of pathways, so for now you can just focus on the pretty butterfly and remember that vitamin A is important for controlling normal cellular development and differentiation. Okay, we've finished going over the basic functions of vitamin A as a fat-soluble antioxidant, component of visual pigments, and transcriptional regulator in normal differentiation. Now we can talk about some of the ways in which vitamin A is used to treat disease. First, take a closer look at our farmer. No, like really close, like so close you can see his pores. Perfect. See how this dude's skin is bad? Yeah, he's got some adult acne. And don't worry, he knows that looks mean nothing, so don't be concerned about his self-esteem. This farmer has acne to remind us that vitamin A is used to treat acne. You've probably heard of the oral form of vitamin A called isotretinoin or Accutane, and its laundry list of side effects, but it's also in a lot of topical medications used to treat less severe forms of acne. Let's zoom back out of his face before we start making him self-conscious, and check out his mammalian friends. He's okay with being covered in weasels because of his deep connection to all living creatures, but it's not so clear if the weasels are into our farmer in the same way, or if they just want some of that lipid-soluble butter. The weasels are here to remind us that vitamin A can treat measles. Vitamin A deficiency is a risk factor for the development of measles, and administering vitamin A supplementation is helpful when treating the disease. It doesn't do anything to make weasels go away, though, which is fine because they're actually pretty cute. Lastly, check out that giant statue of Cleopatra in the left side of the image. Kinda weird for this to be in the barn, but hey, this farmer's been around a while and maybe he's built a remarkable collection of eclectic antiques. That, or she's there as a good luck charm for a bountiful harvest. In any case, let's start with the amulet she's holding. This is really two symbols in one. Amulets are our recurring symbol for AML, or acute myeloblastic leukemia. Since AML is pronounced amulet, obviously. This is an apple amulet to represent APL, or acute promyelocytic leukemia, a subtype of AML defined by the malignant proliferation of promyelocytes in the bone marrow. APL sounds like apple, so this is an APL-AML, or an apple amulet. You're probably thinking, okay, sure, the apple amulet represents acute promyelocytic leukemia, but why is Cleopatra here? Well, that takes a little more explaining. APL is caused by a translocation event that results in the expression of a mutated version of one of those nuclear transcriptional receptors that we talked about before. Specifically, it's the retinoic acid receptor, and it doesn't bind vitamin A, it binds vitamin A's derivative, retinoic acid. Retinoic acid derived from retinol. Still with me? I know this is a lot, but we're almost there. The normal version of the retinoic acid receptor is responsible for the maturation of myeloid cells, so when it's mutated, you get a buildup of promyelocytes, which is APL. This can be treated by administering all-trans retinoic acid, or ATRA, which will bind the mutant receptor and allow the promyelocytes to mature and subsequently die. So Cleopatra is here to remind us of ATRA, or ATRA, all-trans retinoic acid. See, I told you it would all come together. Alright, we'll finish our discussion of vitamin A by talking about its sources in the diet. Turn your attention back to the food those pigmented piglets were after earlier in our scene. Looks like chopped liver and leafy greens. This one takes a little less explanation. Vitamin A is found in leafy vegetables and liver. I know, wild. And we're done. That's all for vitamin A biochemistry. I hope you enjoyed spending time with our farmer and his animal friends. Now, instead of spiraling into a state of complete delirium when you hit questions about vitamin A on step 1, and quietly weeping as you sing Old MacDonald Had a Farm until test proctors hand you over to a mental institution, you can quietly weep and think about this old farmer and his case of intractable cystic acne, and get all the answers right instead. Until next time.